Okay, so good afternoon everyone and welcome to the last of our Hustings sessions for the 2017 officer elections. Today we'll be hearing from our postgraduate candidate and also our candidates for education officer. Just as yesterday, we are live on Twitter with the hashtags #BathQ2C and #BathSUelect. So if you would like to ask any questions, please do send them in via Twitter and we'll do our best to ask them. But first of all, just a little plea from me. If Election Spy is in the room or listening to this, yesterday when you made a joke out of the loss of lives in the river, I think both myself and others felt this was really quite low, and we actually want to see witty, well thought out and original content from you rather than demeaning posts. So just a little bit of something to think about. But on with the show, I will pass over to Liam to introduce himself.
Thanks, Lucy. So yeah, I'm Liam. I'm running to be your next postgraduate officer. I think I'm the best person for the job because I'm the only person here. Ron couldn't even be bothered to show up. So yeah, that's it basically.
Okay, so first question for you today, Liam, is the academic year 2017-18 will only be the second year of the postgraduate officer role. What will you do to further embed the role within the university, the students' union, and the wider student community?
Okay, so yeah, I think the way to embed this role is to try and get as closely matching the postgrads and the undergraduates together. So it's working with the other officers as much as possible. So obviously, education officer, community officer have their own remits, and mine as the postgraduate officer needs to work with them around postgraduate issues as well.
Okay, what can be done to better support graduate teaching assistants?
Graduate teaching assistants, so what, these are ones working?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a faculty rep for the postgraduate talk faculty rep for HSS, and one of the things we said in the meetings is there's not currently best practice guidelines around graduate teaching. So sometimes they're not getting paid. Sometimes it's just because I'm quite friendly with you, so why don't you do it? So it's around trying to establish best practice guidelines at the minimum faculty level, hopefully at university level, so then it's more fair for graduate teaching assistant jobs.
Okay, so as a bit of a follow-up to that, what's your opinion on the use of postgraduate research casual teaching contracts, and what would your response be to a strike if the postgraduate research students wanted to do one? Would you support them? Would
I support them in a strike? Well, obviously I'm the elected postgraduate officer, or I hope to be, so I will have to represent the views of the postgraduate students. So if that's something they were passionate and keen about, I would hope we can work together around casual contracts, seeing one, if they want them, and if they don't, two, how we're going to work with the university to make sure that they're more permanent, on a permanent basis.
How will you increase PG involvement in the SU extracurricular activities?
Okay, so yeah, this is a really big point. Currently less than 5% of postgraduate students are part of sports or societies. So I'm currently part of the politics society, and when I first started, I'm referred to as the postgrad guy, which is nice, but I really want to try and push postgraduate students into more extracurricular activities. I think a couple of the ways we could do this is first increasing the presence of the PGA, so the Postgraduate Association. I want to try and get more funding from the university and all the students' union so the PGA can get themselves out there more. And then secondly is working with the sports and societies, so that the activities officer, the sports officer and the community groups to try and maybe get some more funding for them to reach out to the postgraduate students. One of my other ideas was around maybe setting up a committee position in some sports and society groups, and it could be a test or a trial for a postgraduate officer within each sport and society, and then they can then represent and reach out to the postgraduate students in the community.
Okay, great. Do you think that the current model of postgraduate academic representation is effective? And if not, what would you change?
So when you're saying about the current model,
Yeah, so the PG academic reps that we elect and the postgraduate faculty reps and the different meetings that they go to, like having been one yourself, do you think it's effective, or do you think we're asking too much? Or
obviously it's quite a difficult one because the postgraduate students start in September, and obviously the elections for the undergraduate faculty reps and the academic reps, they start, obviously they'll be taking place before the end of this term. Is it effective? Yes. But I think one thing that I've found a bit more challenging is that the amount of, me being a faculty rep, the amount of meetings I've been to, which is more than the undergraduates. And obviously it's, for postgraduates, we as a community, find it harder to get involved with things, maybe because of we don't live as close to Bath, or we have extra commitments outside of university life. I'm sure there's more we can do, and I look forward to hopefully working and trying to get that in the motions.
Okay, so you've already mentioned you'll be working quite closely with other officers, but what do you see as a distinction between education and postgrad officer in regard to postgraduate academic issues?
So what the main distinction? Well, obviously I'm the sole representative for postgraduate students. If they have a problem with their education, they would come to me, and then I'd like to see the idea that I then go to the education officer. I don't really like this idea when you're saying about distinction fully, because I think the idea of the officer team is they should work together as closely as possible around issues that benefit the students and obviously themselves.
Okay, speeding through these questions. So next up, with the introduction of the doctoral college and a more clear separation between postgraduate taught and postgraduate research students than ever before, how do you plan to unite these two quite distinct communities?
Yeah, so obviously there is a difference between research students and postgraduate taught students. Someone like myself, I'm an MRes student, so I kind of sit in the middle a little bit. I do a bit of research, but I've taught classes. I think the main way to, reunite these students is through the PGA. It's reaching out to both sectors of these, mini communities within the whole postgraduate community, and it's also trying to get them with the undergraduate students as well. I like my idea, my ethos is around trying to not necessarily have a massive distinction around postgraduates, like boxing up these students. We're all students at the University of Bath, so that's what I want to try and get across and work towards.
So following on from that,
Yep.
You are a PGT student yourself.
Yeah.
So how much insight have you gained into PGR issues, and can you give some details how you would approach this side particularly?
Yeah, so as I said, I'm an MRes student, so although it's a taught degree, I do have, less contact time. The fees are a little bit less than they are for the taught, the MScs, BScs. Going back to me being so I go to the faculty learning, teaching quality committees for health and social science faculty. We've gone through issues around like the graduate teachers and how they're being paid, how they're being chosen. So I do have a rough idea of what's going on there. What was the rest of the question? Sorry, just to make sure I've got that all in.
How would you approach issues concerning PGR?
Right. Okay. So I think with PGR students, most of them, there's a lot of part-time students as well. So it's about trying to reach out into that body again, maybe through the PGA, maybe through a campaign. Trying to hear their views. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest with everyone here. I don't know all of the PGR issues because I'm not a PGR student myself. So I need to go out to them as a student body and find out their issues before I can go forth in the 15 university committees that I'll be sat on to try and drive change.
Okay, we're going to go to a question from Twitter now. Given that Bath Students' Union have recently chosen to boycott the National Student Survey, do you also think they should boycott the PRES and PTES surveys?
This is a very, very interesting question, so I thought quite hardly about the boycotting of the NSS and how I thought towards it. And obviously it's passive and we'd be like an elected student officer, so you'd again represent, like we said about striking with the postgraduate teachers. And with the PTES, it's a bit of a different one because obviously it doesn't fit in exactly the same as the NSS, but what's probably likely to happen is in a few years it will develop into a proper NSS where it would go towards master's students selecting what university they want to go towards a league table and all that. So would I be in benefit of boycotting the PTES? That's something that I would probably have to reach out into the postgraduate body before I make a decision on that. I'm quite on the fence on that issue, to be honest.
Okay, that's fine. And if the Department for Education was to go through with our initial thoughts at the moment about introducing a postgraduate level TEF, Teaching Excellence Framework, would that change your opinion?
I'd have to read the policy and then make a decision based on that. But obviously TEF at the undergraduate level is quite controversial, especially around the medalling system and how fees for undergraduate students are jumping from 9,000 to 9,250 with inflation. So we're expecting in 10 years they could be up to £12,000 a year. If that sort of marketisation is coming into postgraduate study, then that's probably something I'm not going to be that keen on.
So on to a point from your manifesto now. You talk about establishing a PGT peer support programme.
Yep.
Who do you envisage to be the peer mentors? PGR students or final year undergrads or anything in between?
Yeah, so this is a really interesting one. When I worked in the peer support team in the Students' Union late last year, but finished in January, one of the reports I worked on was mapping peer-to-peer support activities amongst postgraduate taught students. So obviously I've got this pages of examples. So basically some departments, some programs have established peer-to-peer support occurring. So it might be on graduation day, the students that have just graduated, they come in and they do a little, they do a little talk, or it might be that throughout the years there's PGR students that help the new PGT students. I think the answer is there's probably not one answer. Again, like the nature of postgraduate taught students and PGR is we can't box that. It would be work in different places for different people. I think one idea, it could easily be, it sounds strange, undergraduate students mentoring postgraduate students, but especially if they're not from the area, and that could be a really good idea. So there's lots of examples out there. It's about working with the peer support team to try and bring them together and have some sort of established program that the Students' Union are offering out to postgraduate students.
Okay, great. And our last question of today for you is, do you think that mature undergraduate students should be able to attend events run by the Postgraduate Association?
Well, that's a very interesting question. So I think it's a mature students class if they start their studies over the age of 21.
Correct.
Which is quite a strange thing in itself. At my former university, there's loads of undergraduate students that started over the age of 21.
Okay, let's say someone's 25, they start a BSc here, and they don't really want to go to class or score or lots of the other events that we offer, but they would actually quite fancy going along to a cheese and wine tasting with the Postgraduate Association. Do you open it up to them or not?
I quite like that as an idea. I think that's maybe one of the ways we can expand the PGA more to get the presence out there. I'm not suggesting that we have all undergraduate students can go to PGA and there's this massive PGA party with all students, but it could be that we could put some of the PGA sessions could be for undergraduates as well, or maybe undergraduates that are thinking of being a postgraduate, doing a postgraduate degree, especially at Bath. So yeah, there's maybe certain programs or certain events that we can offer. That sounds like a good idea.
Okay, open to ideas. I think we like that. So that brings us to the end of the questions for our postgraduate officer candidate. Liam, can we give him a big round of applause, please?
Thank you very much, guys.